I don't know what it is, but whenever I see these brand new armor parts coming out for this Hyperborean faction, it honestly doesn't give me like, oh, diesel, steampunk, Viking, Valhalla, Northern vibe. It makes you think of Nautilus and like nautical themes thing. So I'm thinking like the mascot for this, team in the end is going to be something like SpongeBob. So either way, welcome back everybody. Today we're talking about the nice, lovely Hyperborean faction Part 2 news release here, going over a brand new couple of parts here, some brand new armor parts, some new machine guns, and we got a nice little track here, so let's go over it. First things first, the Sleipnir tank tracks, which honestly kind of look pretty jazzy, not gonna lie. They do look very distinctly similar to that of the hardened tracks, so if you go over here to your crafting section table, you can go ahead and take a look at it. Not too bad to get 25% bullet resistance, 50% contact, 25% of the fire resistance here, so not too shabby if I'm going to say so myself. Durability of 600, so it's actually fairly beefy. You rarely lose these parts in battle. You're more likely to lose the frame, but still, it's mostly a mixture of decent hauling power, decent durability, and decently high speed. It's like a nice medium overall, while actually not having a super large profile. Not like the bigger, heavier, chunkier, Goliaths here, or the tank tracks, or the armor tracks, which tend to have slower speed, but a lot more HP, a lot more hauling power, and a lot more protection, most importantly. So instead, this one's going for more of like that recon-esque tank situation, in which it has higher clearance underneath, so you can put things like barrels, ammo packs, or radars underneath your car without necessarily clipping into the environment as well. Because a lot of these other tank tracks here are actually fairly low profile, and it is actually fairly easily to actually scrape your butt against the ground underneath your car. So what a lot of people like to do is that they like to throw generators, fuel barrels, anything really underneath your car, and in low tank tread situations, these will bump up on small hill bumps and things like that, which can maybe interrupt the flow of battle sometimes. Rarely, but it can, especially with larger profile parts. So this shouldn't be nearly as much of an issue. In fact, there used to actually be a tire equivalent. Well, actually, there is a tire equivalent. The large wheels here, because these bad boys have much larger clearance than their counterparts in this small wheel section. So you can see it's like 2 or 3 off the ground. So that allows you to have super easy clearance, which is why I use it on a vehicle like this, while also being fairly low power score, but very power demanding, so not very fast. Beyond that, it also has the what appears to be 2.5 times more than normal reinforced to fire damage here, which I'm not quite sure what that means. 2.5% of 25%? So I'm kind of curious as to what they mean by that. So if we do that by 2.5% and times that by 2.5, so 62, 63% fire resistance is what I'm gathering here, which, I mean, not too bad, but it's not like really fire is terribly damaging to tracks to begin with, because tracks themselves have exceptionally high damage. The main thing that actually ends up falling off first is their frames, or if you're with the larger tracks, those can usually fall off, but generally those are not usually the target when you're getting fired upon. Usually people are going for the much squishier guns that actually deal the damage. No one's going to try to detread a trank. That's just comically waste of time when they can spend all that time firing back at your weapons and making you ineffective in a combat situation. So, but yeah, sure, I guess it makes it slightly more resistant to fire puddles, which is kind of funny that they're pointing that out there, but you know what? Whatever. Beyond that, compared to the reinforced track, this will also have slightly higher speed, but lower ton and durability, which makes sense for a scout-esque track. And the Sleipnir itself will also have a lower mass than the reinforced track. So overall, it is going to be a lighter version of that hardened track, or reinforced track, so that should be kind of nice. So if you don't know, this is the hardened track, this is the armored track, this is the small track. But I'm kind of curious as to what it means by the reinforced track, because that's not the actual name of it. I assume they mean the hardened track and they're just having a weird translation issue, but yeah, when they say reinforced track, probably meaning the hardened track. So definitely very cool. Like to see that, and I always like to see light versions too. So what else we got here? Next, we got the nice legendary machine gun, the Northung. I'm not quite sure. I'm probably gonna say Northung just to piss off developers, but honestly, it does sound pretty cool. Northung. You're just imagining these Vikings walking around. These are actually strapped to their waistcoats. Honestly, it does sound actually pretty accurate for diesel punk. So really, with this lovely Northung here. I still don't get that name here, but either way, with this nice lovely gun here, we got more of a stout profile overall with it, in the sense that it's going to be a lot more flat and a lot longer than what we're usually used to when it comes to machine guns. If you take a look over here, we got roughly 2 to 3 units tall, maybe 5 or 6 units-ish long. Not terribly long or, stout of a gun. It's fairly boxy-esque overall in its profile, at least when compared to something like this, that is definitely a lot longer than it is tall. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that's ranging in probably the potentially 2 unit range tall. But I'm guessing it actually probably will make it up by having a much larger base here, you can see. Instead of it being usually a 2x2, it looks more like it's going to be like a 2x3-esque frame here. Which can have interesting challenges associated with actually mounting it to a car. Meaning you have to have a lot more space dedicated to just purely mounting this. And also, how do you protect it on the sides with armor? So that'll be interesting to see with this gun like this. Otherwise, it's actually a fairly standard machine gun. Like Legendary Machine Gun, probably going to operate very similar to what the Aspect is. But other side with this is that the Aspect had that perk where the higher the heat rate was of it, or the higher heat capacity it was, the more damage it did. This one, on the other hand, it's more that you get 100% damage on the first 5 shots after fully cooling down from maximum. So a gun like this, you actually don't want to have any radiators on this whatsoever, because that'll actually prevent you from getting that perk uptime way more. So realistically, what you actually want to have with this is actually a bunch of coolers, oddly enough, and just sit there and spray and pray, and hopefully you do a decent amount of damage. But the thing is with this perk is that it seems to actually be made with specifically a cooler and a brand new legendary cabin, or sorry, epic cabin coming down the line in future blog posts here. So while the perk itself may seem fairly it actually may be completely changed with this new gear down the line. Although I'm not quite sure how hard to say. On one hand, I do like the idea of having like multiple parts work in conjunction to make a larger cohesive pull that may be more interesting. But at the same time too, you also don't want to have it the case where you have all these parts pretty much exclusively need to be bound up to one specific cabin to actually make it work properly, but we'll see how it is. I mean, they did that before with the spider cabin and the ML200 legs to make those more viable, so I wonder if this will be kind of like another one of those combo scenarios, but we'll see. I do like the profile of it, very nautical themed. I do like that actually kind of like almost lily pad-esque shaped, I don't even know what to call it, magazine maybe? Doesn't really make sense for a gun like this, doesn't really have magazines, but whatever that is, looks very jazzy. Beyond that, we have ourselves brand new structural parts here with the Hyperborean faction. Got the left and right pauldron, which kind of looks like more like what would be around the front cabin that was released last news patch. So the cabin I'm talking about is this one right here. So those little slope sides to it probably attach up here near the beginning of this cabin. So that's what I'm guessing it's probably supposed to attach. That it probably meshes very well with the already included structural part like this one, potentially. Hard to say. Definitely could all work together in some cohesive fashion, but we'll have to see how it is. The thing is, too, also going with this very nautical and sloped theme shape, I actually wonder if it's going to make it very hard to actually do a very pretty looking build with other armor parts. Because a lot of the armor parts are very, even if they curve, they almost curve in the same fashion, and they all have very angular features to them. So a lot of the armor parts, similar with the Steppenwolves, the Lunatics, the Nomads, the Scavengers, they all have very similar profiles in a way. This one might be, question mark? I don't know. Hard to say. Next, we got the left and right wing Nautilus. Very similar situation with the ones up top here. Will they mesh with these ones? Question mark, question mark. Probably. They do look pretty jazzy, though. Nice little oil pan there. And beyond that, looks like we have the bulb of some sort. It kind of looks like either a back armor part here, or maybe at the front of a bumper, but I don't see anything mentioning, like, contact damage here, but we'll see. And then after that, we got a nice captain's bridge here, which, I mean, it's supposed to look like maybe a ventil or a visor for them, but not too bad either. Not too bad. Although these really pair with any of these other parts? Maybe. Hard to say. Also, I'm kind of curious as to what these will actually look like in terms of painting. Because right now what we're seeing is more or less like sculpts that you would see in sort of like a crafting software. So I'm not actually sure if these are what the actual final models are going to look like, or if they have like yet to finish doing the textures or painting on it. But either way, it's still very jazzy. But so yeah, I think that's pretty much going to be everything. I do like the brand new tracks here and the new machine gun. Definitely going to be very interesting here. But let me know what you guys think down below. We got ourselves a little bit of comments, and maybe I'll throw tomatoes at you. Who the frick knows? But beyond that, you know what to do. There's Twitter, there's Discord, there's subscriptions. You can do all that. Maybe. For your favorite panda here. You know. Yeah. I'm not going to guilt trip you at all, but, yeah. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.